All right, so again, we last week stood outside according to our shoe size. And in order to make a box plot, what do you need? You need the minimum, that's one of the things. Maximum, so we look for the person with the smallest shoe size, person with the largest shoe size. Those are kind of easy to point out once you all were in order. But then what were the other three things that we needed? Quartile 1, quartile 3, and then what's the other thing? The median, which is also called quartile 2. So in short, you can just call that the 5-number summary. For the median means what? Middle. So we had to find where our middle was. And if I remember correctly, we had like 21 students that day. So there was just one person in the middle holding the median part. So that means there were 10 people on each side of that person. So quartile 1 is your median of what? Quartile 1 is your median of your lower half of your data. And then quartile 3 was the median of your upper half of your data. So we have to then find the middle person, or in this case, people, because when it's an even number like 10, there's 2 in the middle. We have to find where our Q1 was and where our Q3 was. And then once we figured that out, we can plot our 5 points, make the box and whiskers. And that's basically what we'll be doing today, except of course, not outside, not on a number line, but more practice with box plots, since those tend to be the harder ones. I am recording right now. I'll link it in today's slides. I did also record Friday, but I still need to link that one. So just know that whenever you're absent, the expectation is that you take time, go back and either look at the notes. If you're good, you learn the lesson from looking at the notes, great. If you're confused, watch the video. So just like I'm doing now, I'm kind of preparing you for what we're going to do today. I always start with some sort of slideshow to accomplish that. I'm a little bit behind on grading, as you may have noticed. Hopefully we'll get that taken care of today. So just make sure that if you've been slacking, that you get your stuff turned in, and you can turn everything in up until the Unit 1 test. And it'll keep going like that for each unit. So right now you can still turn stuff in without any sort of like late penalty. Once you hit that unit test, if you try to turn in Unit 1 stuff still, I don't have to accept it. So keep that in mind. And if you're wondering what all is assigned to you, just click on the grades tab in Schoology, not Infinite Campus, in Schoology. That'll have like everything and instructions, and you can click the link there and goes directly there. We are actually going to have a quiz in algebra, not in math lab, but I'm going to add it in here. All right, so prepare for there to be a quiz either Wednesday or Thursday this week. And it's just going to be on everything we've learned so far. So from lesson 1 through lesson 5. Questions, comments, concerns? I don't need the fast games early. All right, so back to where we left off Friday. We're doing an activity called creating box plots. So in your groups, you will be given some data, and I'll call you for it in a second, but you'll be figuring out what your 5-number summary is and making a box plot of your data. So on your paper that you picked up today, there's a spot for you to put your scratch work. I expect you to show your work. It's impossible to do it all in your head, even for me. So show your work on your paper. That'll be like your rough draft. And then your final draft will be on this nice paper. All right, and then when you're done, you'll tape it somewhere on one of the walls. Make sure you put what data set you have. And then we'll kind of like, once everyone's done, answer those questions, those 6 questions. So if it says which data set's greatest value is 10, then you look at all the box plots that your classmates created, and you're going to look for the one where the very last dot, which is your maximum, is at the 10 mark. And then we're going to keep going until you answer all the questions. Anyone confused on what we are doing? All right, so then send the person who has the shortest hair at your group to come get the data. And I'm back here. All right, so let's look at a data set where there's an even number of data points and an odd number of data points. So any preference on which data set I display? Otherwise, I'm just gonna pick one, and it might not necessarily be yours. All right, so then let's look at data set E. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers in my data set. Here's my example of when there's odd numbers, because that just makes the median a little bit different. Otherwise, the rest of the process is the same. So when you have your data, you're going to want to put them in numerical order. So what number would be first in my list here? 126. And then what? 128. I have a feeling I'm going to run out of room. All right, next. Good, what else? Then good, make sure that you do include the duplicates in your list. All right, and then it would be, and then lastly, good. So that's what I usually do. I mean, I don't want you like crossing out on the little slips. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. But rewrite it in numerical order and then count how many you have in your list. It should match how many you started with initially. Since I started with, actually I started with 8. So this is when we have an even number of data points. Then I should have 8 in my list. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then now that I have them in order, I made sure I didn't miss any of them. I can identify, probably first I would identify my minimum. Then my maximum, those are pretty easy to see now that it's in order. And then what do I have to find next? We have the mid and the max. What would we have to find next? The median of the whole thing, because that will establish where your lower half and upper half is. So you have to find that one before you find your Q1 or Q3. So then just go left, right, left, right. And since I have an even number of data points, I've had 8 data points, I'm going to have 2 in the middle. All right, so that's when you add the 2 numbers up and divide them by 2. Or you could think of it as the middle of those 2 numbers. What's between 130 and 132? So 131 is my median. That's going to be on my box plot. That's going to have a dot. Make sense? Now, if you have an odd number of data points, you have just the 1 number in the middle. Now, when you're finding your Q1 and Q3, never cross out your median. All right, so my median isn't these 2 numbers, it's this one that I circled. So then when I'm finding my Q1, here's my lower half. Remember, it's median of your lower half. Look, I have 2 numbers in the middle of in the middle again. What's in the middle of 128 and 129? Or add them together and divide by 2. I know not all of you have like normal calculators, Use your phone real quick. I think I heard someone saying it. So add them together and then divide by 2. That's the average of them. 128.5. And that makes sense, right? Wouldn't that be right in between both those numbers? So then that's my Q1. Now find the median of your upper half. So again, don't cross out your median of the whole thing. Go left, right, again, 2 numbers in the middle. 132, 134, what's my average of those 2 numbers? 133, good. That's 19.3. All right, if you haven't already, you need to make a number line that's representative of your data. So if this is my data, should my number line start at 0? Probably not. Probably, since these data points are pretty close together, probably just count by 1. All right, and then I was telling the group, like, you can count by 1 and just label every other one if you want. Right, and just keep going and plot your dot, not on the number line, but above it so that you can make that box with the plot. All right, are we starting to get the idea? Okay. Let me finish this one just for completion. So apply those changes. Oops, sorry, apply those corrections to yours. It's going to give you a little bit longer. And dot above your minimum, 1.6, dot above your Q1, 128.5 here, dot above your Q2, 131, dot above your Q3, 133, and dot above your 137. Is that time? Yeah. Okay. We'll finish tomorrow. Don't lose your paper. If you have your final copy done, I don't want you to lose it. So if it's done, put it in the bin and I'll